Hello, and today's purpose of the day is I can identify sampling techniques. Let's take a look at some new vocabulary. Population. Population is a large group of data usually represented by a sample. A sample is some portion of a larger group, and that larger group is known as a population. A bias sample is when a sample favors one group over another group. When this happens, this sample is usually invalid. Random sample. Members have an equal probability of being chosen. Under random sampling, there are three different types of random sampling: simple, stratified, and systematic. A simple random sample is a sample that is equally likely to be chosen as any other sample. So this is just a pure random sample. A stratified random sample is when the population is first divided into similar groups, then random samples selected from each group. So again, it's first divided into similar groups and then random sampling selected from each group. A systematic random sample means that items are selected according to a specified time or interval. So this could be every 10th person chosen in a line. Please make sure you have the new vocabulary written down from the beginning of Chapter 12. Now we will talk about the data collection techniques. There's three types of data collection techniques: a survey, observational study, and an experiment. Surveys are used to gather opinions, reactions, and responses. The data is given by a sample of a population typically, and surveys are used to make a decision. With an observational study, data is gathered from an observing sample. Observational studies are known to draw conclusions. An experiment changes variables to analyze results. It can also predict future results. Please make sure you have written down all three types of data collection techniques and a little bit of information about each type. Now we are going to take that new information we had just gotten from the previous slides and go through a few examples together. Let's look at the first example. Each day, a department store chain selects one male and one female shopper randomly from each of its 57 stores and asks them survey questions about their shopping habits. I have highlighted a few important pieces of information that we may need to look at down below. Question 1 says identify the sample and determine the population from which it was selected. Well, the sample that was chosen was one male and one female shopper from each of its 57 stores. So we have for our sample 57 females and 57 males because, again, there's one female and one male selected from each of the 57 stores. Now the population from which it was selected was that those 57 females and 57 males were chosen from all the shoppers in the department stores. So that is our population. All right, let's take a look at the second question. Classify the type of data collection used by this department store. So the type of data collection, again, there are three to choose from, was survey, observational study, and experiment. So the type of data collection used here, and they actually told us, and I have it highlighted, was they asked them survey questions. So this was a survey. And we are done with the first example. Let's look at the second example. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased. Explain your reasoning. Number 1. The student council surveys the students in one classroom to decide the theme for the spring dance. Now, to figure out if the example is biased or unbiased, we want to look for certain features. If we are using some type of random sampling here, then we're just fine. But here, I would look at that they're only asking one classroom to decide the theme for the spring dance. So this is a very little sample of the larger population by only asking one classroom. So this, therefore, would have bias because they would only ask one classroom. Number 2, the parent association surveys the parents of every 5th student to decide whether to hold a fundraiser. So every 5th student. That reminds me of a type of random sampling that was used, which is known as systematic sampling, because here you're going through a time interval or some type of interval, which here would be every 5th student. So this would be unbiased And then our way to explain your reasoning is we could say that they're using systematic sampling, which is a type of random sampling, which is okay, that has no bias in it. All right, the third example. A neighborhood is divided into blocks. Then 3 residents are selected from each block for a survey on hours of operation for the community pool. Number 1, identify the sample and suggest a population from which it was selected. So I've highlighted a couple of important pieces of information, and I've written down the sample and population, and I'm going to go through them. The sample here would be 3 residents from each block, because that was selected to be given the survey. But the population was all residents in the neighborhood had a chance of being chosen. So question 2, classify the sample as simple, stratified, or systematic. Explain. Well, if you can recall from one of our first pages of notes, this would be known as stratified random sampling, because first this neighborhood was divided into blocks, so into similar groups, and then random sampling was based on those division into blocks. Please check Schoology for more information. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.